All right, welcome back to the deep dive, everybody. We're hitting the ground running with day 2 of our UPSC Current Affairs series. Ready to tackle the big stories from January 10th.
Absolutely. Lots to unpack today.
Okay, so let's start with India's diaspora. This is a pretty huge topic, right?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, just think about it. Over 35 million Indians living all around the world. It's a massive community making a real impact globally, both in their adopted countries and back in India.
Yeah. And the U.S., right? The U.S. has the biggest concentration of Indian diaspora, doesn't it?
It does. And this week, we actually celebrated Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, or PVD.
Mm.
It marks the anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi's return to India from South Africa back in 1915.
Right, PVD. Yeah. It's a big deal. But there's so much more to the diaspora than just this one event, right? We always hear about the economic impact, like remittances. What else is there? How else do they contribute to India's growth?
Well, remittances are definitely important, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. You have to think about the knowledge transfer, too. Professionals from the diaspora returning to India, investing in startups, they bring global expertise, connections, really a whole network that can be a game changer for India's economy.
It's almost like a natural bridge between India and the global market then.
Exactly. And then there's the impact on India's, soft power. The diaspora acts as these amazing cultural ambassadors, promoting Indian art, music, food, you name it. It really shapes global perceptions of India, which is so crucial for a country aiming to be a global leader.
So listeners, if you're prepping for those UPSC exams, pay attention. It's not just about the numbers. It's about understanding the diaspora's impact on diplomacy, technology, even cultural exchange. It's all connected.
Absolutely. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about something a little closer to home. Road accidents in India.
Yeah. This is a big one. A serious issue, really. I mean, the statistics are pretty scary, right? 1.8 lakh fatalities last year. A lot of them young adults, too.
It's a tragic situation. And the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways is trying to address it. They've launched this nationwide modified cashless treatment scheme.
Okay, so I'm guessing this builds on that pilot project from 2024. And now it's actually backed by the Motor Vehicles Act, right? What are the key things UPSC aspirants should know about it?
Well, basically, the scheme provides up to 1.5 lakh for treatment within a 7-day window. But here's the catch. The police have to be notified about the accident within 24 hours. And in hit-and-run cases, the families of those who, unfortunately didn't make it, they'll receive euro 2 lakh. It's a critical safety net, especially when time is of the essence.
Sounds like a good step forward, but how's the implementation going on the ground? What's the reality?
Well, the National Health Authority, or NHA, they're playing a crucial role. They're coordinating with hospitals, the police, state agencies, everybody really, trying to make the whole process run smoothly. They're also using tech, like the E-Detailed Accident Report, or EDR, to streamline reporting and response times.
EDAR. Huh, that's a new one. What exactly is that, and how does it work?
So EDAR is a digital platform, basically. It allows people to report accidents in real time, and then that data is shared with hospitals and emergency services so they can, respond more quickly.
Ah, so it's not just for the cashless treatment scheme then. Potentially it could improve overall road safety.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. If you witness a hit and run, knowing there's a system in place to provide immediate medical help, maybe financial assistance, it might encourage more people to step up and help without hesitation.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. It kind of shifts the focus from just legal obligations to something more humane.
Exactly. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about another critical issue. Dam safety. Did you hear about the Supreme Court raising concerns about the Dam Safety Act of 2021?
I did, yeah. I thought that act was supposed to, create a more robust system for managing dam safety in India. What happened?
Well, yeah, the goal was to set up this multi-tiered structure with national and state level committees, but the court pointed out a pretty big problem. The National Committee on Dam Safety, it hasn't even been formed yet.
Whoa, that's a big deal, especially considering how many dams India has. I think it's 5,000 large dams, right?
Yeah.
That puts India third globally. And a lot of those dams are getting pretty old, which makes them, more likely to fail.
Absolutely. And think about the consequences if a dam were to fail. It's not just about the dam itself. It could cause widespread destruction, loss of life, damage the environment. It's huge.
So the Dam Safety Act isn't just about preventing disasters, is it? it's also about making sure those water resources are used sustainably.
Exactly. And you've got projects like the Dam Rehabilitation and Improvement Project, the one trying to modernize older dams and improve water management. These projects are critical,
Yeah.
trying to find that balance between development and safety.
So, for our UPSC folks out there, think about how India can actually make sure the Dam Safety Act is implemented effectively. What are the challenges, but also what are the opportunities for managing dam safety while also dealing with the growing demand for water? It's a tough balancing act.
Totally. All right, let's switch gears again, this time to the international stage. India's relationship with Afghanistan. It's been, well, complicated, to say the least, especially since the Taliban took over back in 2021.
Right. And this week there was some interesting news on that front. I heard India had its highest level interaction with the Taliban since, well, since they took control.
Yeah, it was a pretty big development,
Yeah.
especially considering the history there. I mean, India and Afghanistan go way back to the Friendship Treaty of 1950, but the Taliban's return changed everything. India's had to tread very carefully.
Okay, so what happened in this recent interaction? What did they actually do?
Well, India sent a technical team to Kabul to oversee the delivery of humanitarian aid. It shows India is still committed to helping the Afghan people, even with all the political complexities. But what's really interesting is that there was this joint secretary-level meeting, the first official interaction between Indian diplomats and the Taliban's defense leadership.
Whoa, that's a pretty significant step. What were the main topics they discussed?
Mainly humanitarian assistance and the use of Chabahar port for trade. Seems like India is looking for ways to engage with the Taliban practically, even without officially recognizing the regime.
I see, so it's kind of a strategic move, right? Maintain a presence in Afghanistan, maybe even influence things there, but also send a signal to the world. India is not afraid to engage.
Exactly. So for all you UPSC aspirants, this is a good one to think about. What are the geopolitical implications of this? How will this impact regional stability and even India's relationships with other countries? It's a complex web.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on to something a little more celebratory. Marathi was just granted classical language status in India. That's going to be a big deal for a lot of people.
It is. It's a huge recognition of Marathi's rich history and culture. Now it joins this elite group of languages like Tamil, Sanskrit, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, and Odia, all with a special distinction.
What are the requirements to get that classical label anyway, and what does it actually mean for Marathi?
Well, it's not just an honorary thing. It means the language has a deep, deep history. We're talking early texts, a recorded history going back over 1,500, even 2,000 years. And it needs to have this rich body of ancient literature, something that's been treasured and passed down over generations.
So it's about recognizing the depth and the continuity of the language's heritage, both literary and cultural.
Exactly. And for Marathi, it comes with some pretty tangible benefits. The government will be putting more resources into things like digitizing ancient Marathi texts. It'll help preserve them for the future. Plus, it opens up opportunities for research, translation, even job creation in fields like archiving and publishing.
So it's a win for cultural preservation and economic growth.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a quick rapid-fire round for some other important news. A new study found that 24% of the world's freshwater species are at risk of extinction. Hotspots include Lake Victoria, Lake Titicaca, Sri Lanka's wet zone, and the Western Ghats in India.
Yeah, it's a wake-up call for sure. We need to ramp up conservation efforts. Pollution, habitat loss, overfishing, invasive species, it's all taking a toll.
And there's this other report predicting 170 million new jobs by 2030, driven by, global trends and all that. But get this, tech is going to be huge. Tech-related jobs are going to see the most growth.
Yeah, that's the future. The workforce needs to be ready to adapt, learn new skills, and the report actually said that almost 40%, 39% to be exact, of current skills will be obsolete by 2030. Lifelong learning, folks. It's not just a buzzword.
And speaking of the future, India just inaugurated its first green hydrogen hub. It's part of the National Green Hydrogen Mission, located in Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh, aiming to produce 5 million metric tons of green hydrogen a year by 2030.
It's a major move for India. It puts them right up there on the global stage, leading the green hydrogen revolution. And think about the potential. Transportation, industrial processes. It could change everything.
And back to nature. The Miyawaki method, a Japanese reforestation technique, is gaining popularity in India. They've used it in Prayagraj, Uttar Pradesh, to create these dense mini-forests.
It's amazing, isn't it? Planting native species in a specific way, and boom, you have a forest in a fraction of the time. Shows what innovative approaches can do to combat climate change.
And on the security front, India and Malaysia just held their first ever security dialogue, focusing on strengthening counterterrorism ties.
It's a big step for regional security and stability. They're both facing similar threats, so this gives them a chance to, share intelligence, coordinate strategies, work together to combat terrorism.
And a little defense news. India and the U.S. have agreed to jointly produce sonobouys for the Indian Navy. Those are essential for anti-submarine warfare, right? And these ones will be interoperable, so both countries can use them.
This is a big deal for India's defense capabilities. It shows how their strategic partnership with the U.S. is growing. Plus, it means more technological cooperation, more knowledge sharing between the two countries.
Now, this is interesting. A rare phenomenon called the Artesian condition was observed in Jaisalmer, Rajasthan. Apparently, groundwater under pressure naturally surfaces because of specific geological conditions. Pretty cool, huh?
It is. Reminds us of just how diverse and unique the geology is across India.
And back to tech. India's been working on developing its own 5G radio access network, or RAN. And a company called AI Touch LLP just got funding to develop components for it.
This is huge. It'll help India rely less on foreign technology and become a major player in the global 5G landscape. Developing their own tech means better network security, affordability, and accessibility. It's a win-win.
Now for something a little less positive. The Uttarakhand High Court is concerned about unregulated soapstone mining in the Bagyashwar district. It highlights how tough it is to balance economic development with protecting the environment.
It's a tough one, but essential. We need stricter regulations, sustainable mining practices, the whole package. Otherwise, it's just deforestation, soil erosion, water pollution, habitat loss. It all adds up.
And lastly, a little good news. The number of LPG connections in India has more than doubled since 2014. It reached 32.83 crore in 2024. The Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana has been instrumental in giving rural households access to clean cooking fuel.
It's fantastic. Not only has it improved people's health, but it's also empowered women, taken away some of the burden of collecting firewood. It's a real success story.
Wow, we covered a lot today.
We did. It just shows you, for all you UPSC aspirants out there, how important it is to keep up with current events. And it's not just about knowing what happened. It's about seeing how everything's connected, how it all fits together.
Yeah, it's not just about memorizing facts. You got to analyze, think about the implications, form your own opinions.
That's it. Think critically, connect the dots, really dive deep into these issues. That's how you develop a real understanding.
Okay, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought. We talked about all those new LPG connections, which is great, but what about the people who are still left out? How do we make sure everyone in India has access to clean energy, especially in those harder to reach areas? That's a big challenge.
Yeah, definitely a challenge. And it's something UPSC aspirants should really think about. We've made progress, for sure. But how do we make it sustainable? How do we ensure everyone can afford it? There's still work to do.
Absolutely. It's like a reminder that, well, progress isn't a finish line, right? It's a journey.
Exactly. And that's what's so exciting about studying for the UPSC exams. Every current event, every policy, every challenge, it's all a chance to think critically, to analyze, to come up with solutions.
It's about connecting those dots, seeing how everything fits into that bigger picture, understanding how these events, even the ones that seem totally unrelated, are shaping India's future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And don't forget to, really go deep, explore different perspectives, form your own informed opinions.
That's what the deep dive is all about. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of current affairs, to give you the knowledge and the skills to really ace those UPSC exams.
So keep those brains working, stay curious, and never stop learning.
And that brings us to the end of today's deep dive into current affairs. We hope you found it insightful and, well, maybe even a little bit fun.
Until next time, keep learning, stay informed, and best of luck with your preparations.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the world of current affairs. We'll be back soon with more analysis and discussions to help you conquer those exams.